So in the most recent state of play, we actually see new footage of Resident Evil 9. We see a lot of new footage that we've never seen before, including scenes that definitely do not take place in that hospital that we have been constantly seeing. We actually do get to see Leon actually venturing into Raccoon City. I made a video a couple of months ago, or like maybe a couple of weeks ago, I don't know anymore, about questioning whether or not Capcom will actually let us revisit Raccoon City. I am so happy to be wrong, because we see in the new footage that yes, we do get to return to Raccoon City, specifically the police station. Now, I hope we do get to explore Raccoon City past the police station, and we just not focus on the police station, nor this entire section is just like a very short sequence where it's a cutscene and we don't actually walk around it. That would suck. But I am happy to be wrong that we are actually returning to Raccoon City. So that's going to be exciting. I cannot wait. I really want Leon to explore Raccoon City even more. We even have a scene of Grace asking Leon if she could go with him to Raccoon City. More than likely, he probably tells her no, or she has to do in the meantime that prevents her from actually going to Raccoon City. But we actually get to see Leon walking into the police station. So I am super excited to actually get a chance to do that, and I'm super happy I was wrong. Now let's move on to another new piece of information that I talked about, as well as it basically confirmed in the state of play, is that the person responding to Leon or talking to Leon via communication wireless headset is confirmed to be Sherry. Now, while confirm is a strong word because, Capcom has not said exactly who that is, it's pretty telling that that is Sherry. There's no question that that is Sherry for two reasons. One, we see a much more clearer picture or a clearer shot of the person who is communicating with Leon. It definitely has the short haired, look that Sherry had. That is pretty much telling that that is who that is. And the second clue is the glove that she is wearing. We see previously that whatever is causing Leon to be infected by something, it's affecting his hand as well. Once we see him removing his glove in one of the scenes, we see the black scarring, we see the disfiguration on his hand from whatever it is that is infecting him. We also see this character, who I believe is Sherry, also wearing a glove, meaning that the people who are getting infected like this are survivors of the Raccoon City incident. There's really no other member of or survivor of Raccoon City that really has that look, that is similar to Sherry. The fact that she's wearing a glove and the shot specifically points and looks at her hand with the glove while they're talking about the virus, it's pretty much telling that that is Sherry. And I'm super happy about that because it's been so long since we last seen Sherry. It's been since Resident Evil 6. I can't wait to see them communicating with each other. Goddamn well be like a father and daughter type of situation. Leon will probably try to crack some jokes and Sherry will be like, ugh. Or, kind of like that kind of teenage father type of thing. So I'm super happy that that is Sherry. It's been so long since we've seen Sherry. It's always fun, and it's going to be great to see exactly how they communicate with each other and just what kind of fun dialogue will be shared between them, in between the whole panic and like time running out sort of situation, time bomb sequence that Leon and Sherry has to go through in order to cure themselves. But I think the most important information that we have received from this new footage, from this new trailer, from the state of play, is exactly what is happening to Leon and why he's being infected by something. So a lot of us thought that Elpus was this new virus, that this is the new virus that Leon was being infected by. Turns out Elpus is not the virus, and we don't exactly know who Elpus is. It's likely some sort of project, in my personal opinion, now that the idea of it being a virus is just thrown out the window. Elpus is likely a project in some sort of way that Dr. Gideon is trying to use maybe the Dormant T virus as a way to create new bioweapons, right? We know that there are some sort of new bioweapons being formed with Dr. Gideon because we see these weird child zombie or bioweapon type characters. We see a girl that apparently Grace befriends while she's exploring this hospital area. This character turns out to be a character named Emily. We don't know much information about her, but she does bear a kind of resemblance to Grace in some sort of way. Interesting? Who knows? Who knows exactly who this character named Emily actually is? But we also see like these shots of these like child demons, which by the way, I will be scared shitless, because there's nothing more scary than something that moves fast at you and that is not in your peripheral, because that is scary. You don't know what's going to come at you, and if a child comes at you running fast, like if you ever seen the movie Weapons, just think of that. That would be super scary as heck if something like that came after me constantly. But we don't know exactly who these characters are. We don't know if they're actually bioweapons or some sort of experimentation that Dr. Gideon has been working on. But I think we will have them as some sort of enemy, and Emily, whoever she is probably going to befriend Grace, and they will work together in some sort of capacity. Maybe Grace might try to save her. Maybe there's going to be some sort of connection, where Grace sees herself in Emily or some sort of thing that really gets them closer and bond together. Who knows? But it's very interesting that we do see these new characters, and exactly what they are is probably related to Elpus in general. Let's go back to exactly what is happening with Leon. So it turns out in one of the shots we see a top secret document being on a computer screen, and on this top secret document it actually tells you what is happening with Leon. In the very beginning of the trailer, they talk about how 6 survivors of Raccoon City all of a sudden died from the very same thing. Turns out this very same thing was a dormant T virus that people who survived Raccoon City had inside their bodies for a long time, and only now the virus is now infecting them. So let's look at the document and just go over and read through exactly what is happening with Leon and the other Raccoon City survivors, and just go over it just a little bit more. According to this document, it states, this report outlines the current research on latent onset T virus syndrome, henceforth referred to as Raccoon City syndrome. Raccoon City syndrome occurs when residual T virus within the body mutates over a prolonged period of time. I have yet to find an effective treatment, and when it manifests, the results are fatal. Raccoon City syndrome appears to develop through the following stages. Stage 0. Dormant. The virus lies temporarily dormant within the host due to the presence of specific antibodies. As the virus is not completely suppressed, it begins to build an immunity to the antibodies over time. Stage 1. Activation. The virus becomes active, and black bruise-like marks begin to appear on parts of the body. Mild symptoms such as general malaise and coughing occur. I apologize if I'm saying these words wrong. Stage 2. Development. The black marks spread across the body, coupled with numbness in the affected areas. The mark extends to the internal organs, sometimes leading to hematemesis. I don't know if that's exactly how I say that, but I apologize. Stage 3. Terminal. The black marks darken and spread across the entire body. Severe pain and intense fatigue make moving difficult. Vomiting of blood becomes uncontrollable. Patients as the terminal stage typically die within 1 to 2 hours. The virus that is currently infecting Leon, that he is trying to find a cure for, is a dormant T virus. T virus, as we know, was the virus that basically started all of Resident Evil, with the mansion area as well as Raccoon City. This dormant virus apparently lived within the survivors of Raccoon City. Not much is known exactly how. It could have been something where they just got into very much close contact with the T virus in general. Maybe it went through air or something like that, or somehow it got into their body. They somehow had this dormant T virus in their body. As time went on, this virus suddenly attacked the antibodies that helped protect some of these survivors, until it completely started to eradicate the antibodies that protected their bodies from the T virus. And then once the T virus eliminates enough antibodies, then you all start to see the black marks, the symptoms, and eventually at some point, if it reaches stage 3, your entire body becomes covered in the black marks. You start feeling numb in certain areas, and then you die within 1 to 2 hours. Which is why we do have a time sequence scenario within Resident Evil 9 Requiem. There's a shot of transition to Grace, and we see a timer. This now makes more sense as to why there is a timer, because Leon is running out of time to try to find a cure for this virus, for this Dormant T virus. Now, this idea of a Dormant T virus is actually something that Capcom is bringing back from Resident Evil 5. When you explore Resident Evil 5 and uncover the data files, there is one specific data file that describes about how Jill was able to have these very strong antibodies within her to combat against the T virus. Turns out that despite getting the cure for the T virus, it actually didn't cure her from it. What it did do, though, is allow the T virus to remain dormant within her. It was only until she actually went into cryogenic sleep that the virus reactivated itself. Then, by some miracle luck, that same T virus just became eradicated from within her body, and she developed very strong antibodies, which then Wesker used to further his research. Turns out the reason why Jill probably isn't in this game is because it doesn't affect her. This Raccoon City syndrome doesn't affect her because her body created a defense system that cured her from the T virus, from this Dormant T virus. However, Leon never was able to do that. Sherry was not able to do that. Maybe other characters from Resident Evil were not able to do that from those who aren't Jill Valentine. That's why Jill isn't necessarily in the game, because it wouldn't affect her that way. And thus, Leon and everyone else never experienced or got an immune system, antibodies that were able to miraculously cure her from the T virus like she did. So this isn't necessarily Capcom not wanting to introduce Jill back into the mainline Resident Evil games, which, by the way, they still should and could. This doesn't necessarily just refute that at all, but it gives you at least one explanation why it's not Jill Valentine doing this. As for Sherry, she technically doesn't have the antibodies for the T virus. What she does have is the antibodies, or a dormant version of the G virus. The G virus allows her to be kind of resistant to the T virus in general, which helped create the vaccine for the C virus. However, this didn't negate the G virus or even the T virus at all, which is why likely she's experiencing the same infection, because she did not wind up in a similar situation that Jill did, where it miraculously allowed her body to create antibodies and an immune system to prevent the dormant T virus, or G virus in Sherry's case, to come out. It's likely the infection that Sherry's experiencing is from the actual G virus that she does have dormant inside of her. But it is interesting that this dormant T virus is attacking the antibodies, which means that characters like Jill and Sherry, who have been exposed to the vaccine, as well as probably have the antibodies to prevent them from ever getting infected by the T virus, which Leon will also get if Sherry's blood was used to create the vaccine. He will likely also have it as well. It means that this dormant T virus, whatever caused this to happen, is attacking those same antibodies that is saving them for the most part, but now it's killing them. Now the antibodies are worthless because this dormant T virus has mutated. With viruses mutate. The more they mutate, the less effective our medicine can be. It's one of the worst case scenarios in the medical field to happen. However, I do think there is now a possibility that Jill Valentine will be in the game in some capacity, whether it's going to be playable or it's going to be a situation where Jill Valentine is going to be the key to curing the dormant T virus, because she now has the antibodies, she now has that defensive system within her to fight against that dormant T virus. If she does have that, there's always a possibility that her blood could be the cure that Leon and co are looking for. So there's always a possibility that could exist that Jill Valentine will be in the game in that regard, especially if she is able to use her blood to help with this situation that Leon and co are in. So I think it's very interesting that we are going back to the T virus. I mean, it is a celebration of Resident Evil, so of course if we're connecting straight into Raccoon City or Umbrella, the T virus will play in some sort of role. And now we know exactly what kind of role the T virus does actually play. It is going to be very nerve-wracking to see exactly how all of this plays out, because there's many different scenarios that are running through my head about exactly what could happen, especially when it concerns Leon. For example, If we are going about this as Grace's blood being some sort of effective cure for the Dormant T virus, or maybe Dr. Gideon needs her blood in some sort of way to continue Project Elpus, it's likely Grace's blood is going to be super important. There are many different ways this could go about, such as Grace's blood is going to be needed to save Leon as well from this Dormant T virus. Could this mean that Leon's going to be stuck with a very difficult choice? Because what if the only way to get Grace's blood, to save Leon and everyone else who could be infected by the virus, Grace has to die? Think of it as the Last of Us scenario where Ellie has to die in order to find a cure for the fungi, the virus that is currently spreads within the universe of The Last of Us. If that is the case, will Leon pull the trigger? Will Leon kill Grace in order to save himself and everybody else? Or will it come to a situation where Leon will just not do anything? Just not kill Grace at all. Maybe they bond. And we also see even there's sequences where Grace and Leon team up in a small space, kind of like what Leon and Ashley did in Resident Evil 4 Remake or Resident Evil 4. There's a scene of that in the newer trailer that we see. But there's also other options, of course. It could very well be that at the end of the game, they find a cure. Grace's blood is used in some sort of lab that we visit at the end of the game, and she uses whatever sort of device or technology or some sort of math or chemistry to save Leon and everyone else who is infected by this Dormant T virus. That could also be an option. But if they really are going to go to a route, if they decide to choose to kill Leon, would that be a way to do so by having Leon sacrifice himself to save Grace while he just suffers from the virus? However, I think this is more than likely not going to be the situation, because Sherry is likely also involved now with the entire situation of being infected by this Dormant T virus. So it's very interesting. This makes things a whole lot more intense, a lot more interesting for the story of Resident Evil, and I cannot wait to see exactly where this goes. We're only 2 weeks actually away from Resident Evil 9 Requiem. I cannot wait. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to play the game. Subscribe to the channel to not only keep up with my coverage of Resident Evil 9, but also check my channel out when I stream it as well. So thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time.